Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our remote meeting of the Statutory Licensing Subcommittee. I'm Councillor Colin Carr, Chair of the Subcommittee, and I'm joined by Councillors Jan Blakey, Amanda Hopgood, Karen Little, and Joyce Maitland. Please note that this meeting is being recorded live to the Council's website and will be available to be viewed for a minimum of 6 months. I'd like to give a warm welcome to any members of the public or media who are watching this live feed of the meeting. Before I commence with the formal business on the agenda, I would like to cover some of the housekeeping issues for us all to follow in order for the meeting to run as efficiently as possible. For those participating in the meeting, if you could please only speak when invited to speak by myself as chair. Keep your microphone on mute at all times unless invited to speak. Members, if you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function and that will indicate to me that you wish to speak. Once invited to speak, please introduce yourself with your name and position unless you have already introduced yourself earlier in the meeting. If I lose my connection, please note that Councillor Joyce Maitland will take over in the absence until connection is restored. Okay, moving on, we look at item 1 first. Apologies for absence. Jill Errington, please.
There are no apologies for absence, Chair.
Item 2, substitutes. Jill Errington, any substitutes?
No, Chair, we have no substitute members.
Thank you. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Anyone? No. Okay. Item 4 on the agenda is the application for the grant of a premises licence for Durham City Rugby Club, Green Lane, Durham. I would like to welcome the parties to the hearing, who are Rosa Montague-Vaughan. If you put your hand up, Rosa, just so that we know. There we are. And Alex Comash. Alex, on behalf of the applicant. We are also joined by the licensing team leader, Helen Johnson, and the legal advisor for the subcommittee this afternoon is Jill Proud. Jill?
Hello.
Thank you. Objectors to the application for our Winnie Hill community group who are not in attendance, but they have provided further written representations to be taken into account, which have been circulated and read by members and the applicants. What I will ask the licensing officer to do is to go through those specifically and the replies during her presentation. I will now invite the licensing officer to present her report for today. Please note that all 5 members will sit during the hearing today, but only 3 will make the decision. I will now ask the legal advisor to explain why we do this and to run through the procedure. Jill Proud, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to make you aware, for those who don't realise, this is a statutory licensing hearing in accordance with the Licensing Act of 2003, and that means that only 3 members are entitled to make the decision today. However, as I'm sure people are realising, during a hearing there is always a risk of people losing their IT connection or a conflict of interest arising, or perhaps a member taking ill. If that happens, then that individual will be forced to retire from the meeting. And if we only had 3 sitting, then we wouldn't have enough members in order to make the decision. As a result, we then ask additional people to attend. After they've heard all of the information, there's then a decision taken as to who will make that decision today, and the other 2 members will drop out. So there will only be 3 who will make that decision. In relation to the procedure for today, we'll hear from Mrs Johnson, the licensing team leader, first of all. That's in relation to the application that's been submitted. She'll outline the licensing report, and all parties will have an opportunity to ask questions of Mrs Johnson. If I can just remind people, just at this stage, just please limit any representations you have to questions only. Ms Montague-Vaughan and Mr Comish, you will have a chance to present your case, but it's just any questions of the licensing officer. We'll hear from you both following Helen's presentation. Once representations have then been made and all questions asked, then the parties will be given an opportunity to sum up. Again, the order will be the licensing officer first, followed by the applicants. After that, the subcommittee will then retire to deliberate in private, and all parties will be notified by telephone. I understand that that will be later today. Following the telephone call, you'll receive a formal written notice which outlines the decision and the reasons for that decision in more detail. And just to indicate, I am the legal advisor today, and I may interrupt the proceedings if I consider that there's something that occurs that I need to speak to the committee in relation to. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jill. Helen, if you're there, can you please come in and present your report?
I will do, Chair. Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. So this is an application to consider and determine for the grant of a premises licence for Durham City Rugby Club, Green Lane in Durham. This is for a one-off event, outdoor event each year. The event is Durfest. You'll see this plan showing the location of the premises is attached as Appendix 2, which is at page 10. The application is attached as Appendix 3, pages 12 to 92. You'll see that includes quite an extensive event manual for the event within there, so it'll go through everything. I'm sure the applicants will go through that in a bit more detail as well when they give their representation. The first proposed event, it was supposed to be this year, however, due to the COVID-19 situation, it has been postponed, and the first proposed event is looking to be Saturday, the 5th of June 2021. The application was originally applied for by Elsa Kent, however, during the consultation period, but also with the delay in scheduling the hearing, the applicants have since changed, which obviously that changed formally on the 20th of July to Rosa Montague-Vaughan and Alex Comish. The application is for the following activities. Again, one event each year. Provision of films indoors in a marquee on a Saturday 11:30 AM until 11 PM. Live music indoors and outdoors, Saturday only 11:30 AM until midnight. There'll be 2 outdoor stages of live music which will cease by 11 PM and continue into the marquee until midnight. Recorded music indoors on a Saturday 11 AM until 11 PM. Amplified live and recorded music both in the marquee and on 2 open air stages. Performances of dance, anything of a similar nature to music and dancing indoors and outdoors on a Saturday only 11 AM until 11 PM. The provision of late night refreshment indoors and outdoors on a Saturday only 11 PM until 12:30 AM, and the supply of alcohol on the premises only Saturday 11:30 AM until 12:30 AM. During the consultation period, which ended on the 2nd of June, we did receive one letter in opposition to the application. That's attached as Appendix 4, pages 94 to 96. You'll also see that at pages 97 to 100, Elsa, who was the applicant at the time, did respond trying to address any concerns that Winnie Hill Community Group had. You'll see that response at those pages. I don't know, Chair, at this point, do you want me to go through the additional information provided by Winnie Hill Group?
I think so, if you appreciate if you need to, Helen.
Yeah, so obviously what happened is on the 24th of July, Karen Robson, who's the Senior Licensing Officer, did receive an email from Alan Hayton, who represents Winnie Hill Group, saying, "Thank you for forwarding the papers associated with the above meeting. We will not be taking part in the committee meeting as we found difficulties in accessing these meetings in the past, although we do appreciate that during these unprecedented times during the COVID, they do enable some participation to take place." Goes on to say that they thought they'd sent a response in regards to the response from the applicant to try and address the concerns. However, that was never received, which is why they've sent it again, which has been sent round. They then go on to say, regardless of the event itself, we still maintain that after the official shutting down of the Durfest, that there have been no effective procedures or assurances put in place to ensure that local residents living nearby, i.e. in Winnie Hill in particular, but also within the city itself, will not be subject to ongoing noise and unruly behaviour by large groups of youngsters, particularly students who wish to continue to party in nearby HMOs. If I go on to the response, which was dated the 22nd of April, do you want me to go through that?
Yes, please.
So it says, "Dear Miss Karen Robson, I'm writing on behalf of the Winnie Hill Group regarding your email to Alan Hayton in response of our objection to the Durfest event. Thank you for forwarding the Durfest information and the letter from the event manager Elsa Kent. With regard to her request that Winnie Hill Community Group retract its objection to the application, I wish to advise you that we will not be withdrawing our objection. Unfortunately, nothing in the documents alleviates or lessens our concerns regarding noise and disturbance. Now that we are at last in receipt of the event manual document, which is new information, we will be strengthening our objection and would ask that our additional comments are included alongside our original objection. It is clear from the event manual that the organisers really don't know how many will attend the event, though they hope for 6,000. That is a number well above anything the rugby club has previously managed. In fact, we have no knowledge of that club managing an event of 3,500 claimed, and we see no detail in the document that gives us confidence about the club's ability to service such numbers. Given that the organisers don't know how many will attend the event, the references made to security are vague at best. Mention is made of employing licensed security operatives and unlicensed volunteers, but no mention is made of the respective numbers or of their experience in managing such large crowds. Such specifics should be fundamental to the granting of any licence when such huge crowds gathered and alcohol is being served. It is claimed that noise from the event will travel no more than 30 metres, yet other than a vague claim that natural barriers will deaden the noise, no evidence is provided to support such a claim. Past experience of even smaller events in the vicinity would not support this claim, as noise travels very easily despite natural barriers. Regardless of the part of the grounds the music will be played, we are not shown the direction the stages and speakers will face or what noise suppressing measures would be employed. Having the music in the marquee from 11 PM will do nothing to prevent noise pollution. In contrast, outdoor university events are moved indoors or have silent discos after 11 PM in order to prevent noise disturbance in accordance with agreements with the police. Further to this, the organisers claim they've had no noise complaints from previous Durfest events. Those events catered for a few hundred people and were held indoors. To use those examples in support of competence to manage noise in the proposed event is insulting to residents and to the committee considering the application and should be dismissed. The document claims that no disturbance is anticipated in relation to the event. This shows absolutely no insight into the lived experience of Durham residents when large events are held and alcohol is involved. The claim is at best a naive triumph of hope over expectation, but in reality it is an insult towards those in the community whose lives are regularly blighted by the antisocial behaviour which always ensures such events. Of course, it is noted that the event security takes no responsibility beyond that of the event itself. In addition, the event is proposed to take place at the end of the university term. This is a time when there are huge numbers of complaints about student noise due to other events and private parties. The timing of the event will simply add to the already high levels of antisocial behaviour and to the misery of residents. Despite this, the applicants appear to think their timing is a virtue, which just demonstrates how little consideration they've given to others. It is claimed that the money raised from the event will go to charities, yet other than Rainforest Alliance, there is no mention of other specific charities, what they'll get and when the funds will be distributed. For instance, who are the local charities and how much are they to benefit? What will be the percentage distribution to which charities and what will be expected net distribution after organisation costs? These are basic points left unaddressed. With regards to transport, the applicant claims there are good transport links and adequate parking. In fact, the nearest bus station to the event, which serves Old Elvet and Winnie Hill, was withdrawn some time ago. As the nearest bus stops at the southern end are on Stockton Road, this would result in massive footfall throughout Winnie Hill for many hours of the day. The alleged good parking in Green Lane is somewhat limited and used by the public and other businesses located there. It's therefore inevitable that parking on Old Elvet, Winnie Hill and Holgarth Street would be heavy demand, and there would be extra traffic flow throughout these areas, causing additional traffic pollution. Such consequent disruption is ignored by the applicant in favour of promoting the event. Owing to COVID-19, the proposed event cannot take place this year, yet an application for a licence for events henceforth is still being pursued. It's unreasonable for all of the above reasons to consider a year-on-year licence for such a large event in close proximity to a residential area, and for which the consequences cannot be measured. Winnie Hill Community Group will continue to pursue its objection towards the premises licence, and given all the above, we strongly believe it is the applicant who should be withdrawn the application in its entirety. Diane Ward, Secretary of Winnie Hill Community Group. Chair, I'll just continue with my report.
Yes, please.
So it's section 6.
Thank you for doing that, Helen.
Yeah, no problem.
I think it was important.
Yeah, definitely. Section 6, so during the consultation period, we did receive responses from Durham Constabulary, which you'll see at pages 102 to 104. They did propose some additional measures that the applicant did agree to in the promotion of the licensing objectives. Further on, Appendix 5, you'll see County Durham and Darlington Fire and Rescue Service and Durham Safeguarding Children Partnership had no comments to make in regards to the application. So the subcommittee is asked to determine the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives. You need to take into account the steps that the applicants proposed in promoting the licensing objectives, the representation including any supporting information presented by all parties. There's the Durham County Council Statement of Licensing Policy. It does say Appendix 7, however, Chair, that should be Appendix 6, pages 111 to 120. The relevant parts are attached. Yeah. And also Section 182 guidance at Appendix 7, pages 122 to 129. The options available to members are to grant the licence subject to conditions that are consistent with the operating schedule, accompanying the application and the mandatory conditions set out in the Act. Grant the licence subject to modified conditions to that of the operating schedule where the committee considers it appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and the mandatory conditions set out in the Act. To exclude from the scope of the licence any of the licensable activity to which the application relates to refuse to specify a person on the licence as the designated premises supervisor, or lastly, Chair, to reject the application. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Fine, thanks very much, Helen. Ms Montague Vaughan or Mr Cormish, do you wish to ask any questions of the licensing officer?
No, I don't think so.
None from me either.
Okay, fine, thank you. Now it's members. Before I bring members in, Helen, I need to clarify. My understanding is that in the documentation it says that Mighty are going to be the people on guard.
I can clarify this for you. I do have.
No, I'm asking the licensing officer because she'll have investigated all of this. That's why I'm asking to confirm that the investigation is taking place.
Yeah, Chair. That was the intention. Before this application came in, myself and a police colleague met with, because this event went through the Safety Advisory Group of the council. Obviously, it was identified then that a licence application would be required because of the numbers that are going to be looking to be at this event. Therefore, I met with Elsa Kent at the time, where we went through the application process. She then explained then that that was the company that would be used. I'm sure Rosa can go through that in more detail when she gives her representation, but yeah, that was the intention, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. The other thing is, I'm sure that environmental health were involved, and there's an agreement in there that it's a maximum of 65 decibels. for the LAQ as well, and that's going to be 20 to 30 meters away from the sound stage. Am I correct? So that has been followed through by the environmental
health. Again, like myself, environmental health had a separate meeting with Elsa up on the site, again going through all the environmental health requirements and everything like that. They had a site meeting. That all came from the initial safety advisory group meeting. So
the safety advisory group have gone through everything, including the documentation.
Yeah,
I think that's important for members to cognizance of. Do any members have any questions? Amanda?
Yeah, can I ask Helen, have the safety advisory group taken into consideration that New Elvet Bridge is closed for 14 months and would be the main vehicle access to this site? And with 6,000 people there, that is going to have a massive impact on both emergency services, on taxis, and on the residents in Winnie Hill. So I appreciate that I've looked at it under normal circumstances, but when this was planned, we didn't know that that bridge was going to be closed for 14 months, which would cover next June.
Yeah, totally agree, Councillor Hopgood. At the time, I'm not sure if that was taken into consideration. However, highways are part of that safety advisory group. So if there was any changes, the event is on the safety advisory group, and they should be advising the coordinators of the safety advisory group of any changes like that and advising and assisting from there. I'm not aware that they've commented further in regards to New Elvet Bridge.
Is that something that we should check, or is it their responsibility to come back to us?
Okay, can I just come in there? I normally have a bi-monthly meeting with the police, with the highways, with licensing teams and everybody. And the last meeting that we had was, I think, in June, Joyce, if you remember, and we all knew then that the bridge was going to close then. So I think that it's probably been taken into account, although yes, it wasn't announced till fairly recently that that bridge was going to be closed.
Yeah, so the highways should respond back to the safety advisory group. The safety advisory group is just an advisory group. It doesn't have any powers. It can't stop an event going ahead. It's more for the applicants to just get round the table and get the expertise from people like myself, environmental health, planning, highways, building control, police, medical, to get the assistance. So that they are encouraged to engage. So at that process, that is the opportunity for highways to maybe comment to say there has been a change in regards to New Elvet Bridge. However, the advisory group wouldn't stop an event. They would just advise the event organisers in regards to that and see if they could put any measures in place. Again, the applicants may alleviate any concerns in regards to that. I don't know when they give their representation.
Okay, or we could probably consider it in any decision that we make. John, yeah. You've got a question as well?
Yeah, it's along the highways advising on this particular thing going ahead. I think they should have been made to respond, because it is significant for the 14-month closure that's going to create mayhem under normal circumstances.
Just to clarify, the highways are part of the safety advisory group. Yes. They're not part of the licensing consultation as a responsible authority.
Well, no, where I'm getting at is because it's exceptional circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, I think that they should have been made to reply for the members' benefit as well as for the people who's applying for the licence.
Yeah, I accept that, John. I think it's one of the things that I say we can take into consideration in our decision-making process.
Yeah.
Okay, Helen, is there anything else you wish to add?
Nothing further, Chair, no.
Okay. Any other members got any questions, please? No. Jill, do you have any clarification to seek from Helen?
No, Chair, I've no questions or nothing to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, it's the applications representations. I don't know whether Ms Montague, Vaughan or Mr Cormash are going to do it, or are you going to do a double act?
I don't know actually. Shall I speak first and then Alex can add anything he'd like to add, perhaps?
Yes.
That
Yes.
might work better in terms of structure.
What I'd like you to do, if possible, is if you're referring to anything which you've got in the documentation, tell us the page number so that we can all follow it, because we've all got the documentation, so we can follow it clearly.
Okay, I just have, sorry, my laptop has a few different tabs open, so I'll just get that up now. But yeah, our main, I think we sort of, as a team, we sat down and discussed what it looked like Winnie Hill's main concerns were about the event. So we looked at the security aspect. We do feel we have covered perhaps more than is clear in the event manual, because that event manual was written quite a number of months ago now. Since then, we've had more specific numbers regarding security. So I have a very specific quote from Lewis Dean, who has also stated that, who's from Mighty Security, and has stated that they wouldn't be willing to work an event if they had any concerns about the security or the safety of it. The plan is to have a minimum of 19 door supervisors who, or a maximum if we have, so that's if we have a lower number of guests attending. If we do go up to 5,000 guests, then that number will go up, obviously, to about 23, 24 door supervisors, who will all be SIA trained and are from Mighty. They're people that Mighty has obviously selected for that role. We plan to have stewards supporting that, but it wouldn't be on the stewards to be the main area of security. They'd be more advice points and help points, and obviously directing people away from any, or directing people towards security and things for bigger issues. So you wouldn't really be, yeah, our main security will be SIA trained door supervisors. In terms of the concerns about child safety, we were sort of discussing that while we're making the event family friendly, it's not going to be child directed. If there are major concerns surrounding children's attendance at the event, then we would be willing to discuss age limits or the way. We do have a very in-depth child safety plan. I'm not sure which page it's on though. Alex, do you know the page for the the policy you wrote up, the missing children's thing?
So that's on the event manual. It's Appendix 3. So I just have to find the exact page number.
Yeah.
So on the report, the paginated committee bundle, that is on page 59.
Yeah. So yeah, we have really thought about how to have children safely attending the event, but we do understand that if that is a major concern, we are willing to make adjustments that suit the advisory group or the committee or anyone like that. But we are really keen to have the whole community involved and make it a community event. So we would be really keen to make it family friendly as well as, because we don't just want it to be a student event at all. Obviously, its timing at the end of exams is primarily because that's a time. Durham's population is largely students, and that is a time when they'll still be in Durham and be available and be able to attend events. But equally, 2/3 of Durham's population isn't students, so we don't, by any means, there's no plans to rule out that audience. And we're really keen to, we're going to have different things going on. We want to have a family-friendly area and all sorts of, yeah, we do have plans for making it a family-friendly event as well as student-friendly, sort of trying to marry the two. In terms of the charity concerns, our main charity is Rainforest Alliance. We haven't considered other local charities yet. We'd be open-minded to if there were any suggested, but the plan is currently for the funds to go to Rainforest Alliance, 100% of them, as far as I'm aware. Alex, did you have any? Did you want to say something on the houses of multiple occupancy?
Yeah, I think it's worth echoing on the charities front. The wording of the event, we decided to say the Rainforest Alliance and other charities because at the time we had a member of the team looking for more effective environmental charities but due to the COVID situation, they were no longer able to be part of the team. So that's taken a backseat, and we are now focusing on the Rainforest Alliance primarily. Yes, so the the houses of
multiple
occupancy afterwards. Yeah, and the timing of the thing. We believe that we understand that we can't, guarantee absolute no disturbance at all. We understand that there will be disturbance to city residents, but the response on the 22nd of April, supplement agenda item number 4 that I've got in front, they make the argument that the event will add to the student behaviour, whereas we believe that, with or without this event, there will be students doing student things, and we believe that given the opportunity that we have to run an organised and responsible bar setup, whereby we will not be serving anyone that we think is too drunk. We will have stewards on site to call security if we see antisocial behaviour, and we believe that with the effects of closing down the stages at different times throughout the evening, we'll be able to stagger the exit of those people. We are also considering partnering with one or two of the clubs in Durham to provide an official after party sort of thing, to try and limit the number of students that go directly back to houses of multiple occupancy. We feel that if we can get them into a nightclub afterwards, not only would that mean that they leave the site slightly earlier so that they can actually get in, but we'd be able to restrict them going off to houses in residential areas, which then of course when they leave the club, that is it's a whole other thing, but that would not be any different to a normal Saturday night, we believe. Rosa?
Yeah, and then I think one of the other main concerns of the Winning Hill group was the transport and the way that people were going to get to the site and how that would affect the residents on Winning Hill themselves. I think our main aim we did say at the SAG meeting, we have consistently said the parking on Green Lane and in that area is going to mainly be for our providers and people who already live there. But that whole car park area, we've spoken to the people in that building, and that's going to be completely for our sort of the people who are working with Durfest, because obviously they'll need somewhere to be. In terms of guest parking, we're going to really be discouraging people from driving to the event, mainly because it's an eco-friendly event, so obviously that's sort of against our whole ethos. We're going to be directing people to the park and ride and the bus stops which stop at Elvit primarily, and then also there will be the Stockton Road one, but we also noted that a lot of students do walk to these kind of events across the city. It'll be mainly families who would benefit from the park and ride system, and generally they are less likely to cause a disturbance to local residents, I think. And yeah, we'd be really keen to discourage traffic, and this has been discussed quite heavily at the SAG as well, in terms of there isn't much parking space, so we will make it clear to attendees of the event that parking is limited, and really heavily recommend that they don't bring their cars into the centre, because highly likely they'll reach the centre, really struggle to find somewhere to park, and end up parking further away than if they just got a bus or even just walked initially. So we thought that was quite a key thing to address. I'm not sure if there's anything else we wanted to specifically say. I'll just check my notes.
Rosa, if I could just speak for a quick minute on the sound site itself.
Oh yeah.
So I was present at the on-site meeting we had with the environmental noise and environmental health noise department, and part of the reason that they were happy for us to actually raise the hours, so we pushed back the times on some of the stages, because they were happy with the the fact that the stage, the main stage itself will be, and the smaller stage will be pointing away from Winnie Hill out towards the river, and we'll also be using liner, which is a kind of speaker setup that points the sound down into the crowd, where it's absorbed by the ground, and it allows you to reduce the amount of excess noise that comes out into the, up into the atmosphere or out to the sides. It allows you to pinpoint the noise quite carefully, the crowd, and because of that, they were very happy with that. And that's why they were saying that we could have music a little bit later than we initially planned for. So we believe that they're the fact that they were happy with the sound designs as far as speakers went on the day. We believe that it shouldn't cause too much disturbance, and also the marquee until 12 will be softly amplified acoustic music. That the marquee is just acoustic all day. The idea of going till 12 was again that we could slightly stagger the way that people were leaving because of different bits shutting down at different points. So again, the music in the marquee until 12 shouldn't be anything too loud, and they were happy with that as well. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say, Rosa?
I think also about the river, we did want to just mention as well that we are going to have, the whole site is going to be fully Harris fenced, and the river path will have stewards sort of lining, so that our main entrance and exit point is by Cuth's Parsons Field site, sort of going out through there, which is obviously as far from the river as the site gets. And then the aim being that we'll have stewards sort of lining the side, that path that goes down to the river, lining there to discourage people from taking that route, going too close to the river, especially if they're drunk, of course. And if they do decide, a steward accompanying them, ensuring safety, and because we're really keen to obviously avoid any accidents in the river, as I know there's been issues with that in years previously with drunk students especially. But our main aim will be to keep people away from that path. If they must go down that path, then making sure they're really supervised and ensuring their safety.
Yeah, I think just really jumping on that. Elsa, when she had the site meeting with the constabulary, decided that the best entrance and exit point for the event would be the footpath running past that starts just up at the top of Green Lane and comes past the buildings on the other side there, meaning that we do not have to put people attending the event anywhere near the river at all. So they'll come in from the other side. It'll all be fenced off. And when people are leaving, we will have stewards lining that exit so that we can try and make sure that people are heading in the right direction. And we think it's incredibly unlikely that people will be able to slip through the cracks. But it is something that we are very aware of.
Yeah, I think that's everything I had to say on.
Okay. Helen, do you have any questions to ask?
No, Chair, no questions.
Any elected members have any questions to ask? Amanda?
Yeah, I've got a question, and it is specifically about next year because of the new Elvert Bridge. And have you worked with the council to discuss a park and ride system? Because you are going to have problems, especially next year, because of the road closure. So there is no bus service on that side of town for the next 14 months. The only bus service that will get you anywhere near there is the park and ride from Howlands. So I wondered if you had spoken to the council, and even when that road is open, that would be a good compromise for people to avoid cars if they can use the park and ride system.
We haven't spoken to the council about it directly, no. Obviously for us it's a really new development. Obviously we only heard about it a few weeks ago, but we are really keen to try and have park and ride as the main way that people get from the outskirts of the city in. And I know I'm from one of the colleges that really uses the PR2 bus, so I know it's well used as well by like I always, every time I'm on it is busy. So I'd hope to, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the exact arrangements would be for that, but I'd be really keen to discuss that as a main way of transport in. Obviously, I don't drive, I don't know the extent of the impact of the bridge closure, but I would be more than happy to research it in order to work out an alternative plan for how we're going to get people to the venue. Yeah, but we haven't had the chance to discuss it with anyone yet, no.
Yeah, I think if I just jump on that as well, it's been of course when we started planning all of this, we didn't know that, and then because of the COVID situation, we've all been our group, we've been away, and it's been a little bit harder to try and organize things. Definitely, we were always considering minimal car journeys anyway because of the environmental aspect of everything. So organising a proper park and ride system with the council would be at the top of the list as far as transport went, to try and minimise the effects. Again, any students that would be attending, most of the student population would be walking, again, because they live within a short distance. And as far as footfall and just clogging that up goes, believe that an event of this size, compared with the amount of footfall that you can get on a normal day with 18,000 students walking down the main street, it wouldn't be anything that serious compared to the number of students you get walking around anyway.
I'll just come in on that very quickly before the other councillors come in. You have an arrangement, I understand, that if a student is inebriated too much, that you have a system whereby a taxi company can come and pick them up and take them to their halls of residence. Will that still be part of what you consider to be required for this facility? Depending upon the amount of alcohol which is being sold, of course.
Well, obviously our aim would be to try and prevent anyone getting to that stage in the first place. The bar we're using is an external company who we've really discussed about the Challenge 25 policy, and in terms of refusing to serve anyone who is clearly not in a fit state to, or may become in a fit state to very quickly. But yeah, we'd still be keen to probably run that just to ensure the safety of the guests as well, not just students, any other guests, including if there's a family and the parents or something. Like, we would be really keen to ensure just the safety of the attendees.
Okay. Also, generally licensed premises have a contact for people to contact for travelling, for them getting away from a site. Will you be able to put that in place?
Yeah, we will. We always plan to have a series of numbers that people could call. We have our health and safety officer, Joe, was going to get a sort of pay-as-you-go phone that we could just have that number advertised for main health and safety things. We're going to have different little phones for us as well. And we're also, our stewards were going to be connected by radios. We've discussed a radio contract with Northeast Radios, and they should be, so they can, if they see anything in an area, then they can contact straight back to the centre, and whoever's in charge of that area can immediately be sort of there. The site is so open as well that it's very easy for people to get from one side to the other very quickly.
Okay. I've got questions from Councillor Little, Councillor Blakey and Councillor Maitland. So Councillor Little first, please.
Hiya, Councillor Liddell here. You said you've got Harris fencing going right round this side, but you've only got 2 emergency exits. One's where the entrance is and the other one's near the toilets and bar. Could you not put any more emergency exits in, because you're talking about thousands of people to get out of 2 exits?
Our plan for, so the emergency exit that's sort of by the bar is obviously leading into that field area by the rugby club. When we discussed it with Joe, he felt it was best to keep the Harris fencing as secure as possible, because it is quite hard to you have to sort of undo it and lift it all around. So that exit was going to be quite wide in terms of you'd be able to move a whole section of the fencing in order for people to sort of move into that part of the field and then move around towards the rugby club. That was a plan that was devised with Joe Elliott and the health and safety people, but I think we were worried that another exit might end up being near the river as well, which is something we'd really want to avoid.
So that's going to be a big exit?
Yeah, if there's an emergency, that's our main emergency, like getting everyone out as quickly as possible at once. Exit, whereas the main exit is obviously approaches paths rather than a big open space.
Okay.
Again, that exit system was Elsa spoke to the constabulary about it on the site meeting, because the initial plan had been to have the main entrance be from Green Lane, and after the safety advisory group had mentioned the issues of closing off a whole street, coming up with the using the path as the main entrance and exit, and they had agreed that they liked this idea of a big second exit, that we could just open up a whole portion of fence and then using the stewards guide people towards Green Lane if we needed to in an emergency, and they were all happy with that as well.
Okay, John.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just while the bridge works has been on, and they're going to affect us. Doesn't matter what we do.
Oh,
Would there have been any other site possible for use for that year, for that event?
Wharton Park was considered by Alex, and I joined the team at the beginning of this academic year, but I think last year they were planning an event at Wharton Park. I'm not quite sure what happened with that, but I when I did the risk assessment for this location, the Wharton Park one was even longer because it had all the issues of multiple levels and in terms of accessibility, and also in terms of being directly on a main road, people coming in and out, where would they queue? They'd have to sort of queue on a path leading up. And also, yeah, there were just, so that was considered as a location, but it's in an equally residential area as well, was noted. The other place that's been discussed has been the race course as an alternative, but that's quite close by, and we're not sure about the availability of that in terms of there always being cricket and things on there and sports events. So yeah, Winnie Hill was sort of highlighted as a space that's not going to be used otherwise, and yeah, it has all the benefits of the natural sound barriers and it's sort of not intrusive to the rest of the city in the same way the race course perhaps is. Yeah.
Okay, John. Joyce.
I'm looking at you saying like this is going to be a family event. I'm looking at your policy and it says, like, you know, the responsibility of children and with the parents would have you put a time limit on when the children have to be off, you know, off the fields and that, or is it unlimited? Can they stay there the whole of the time? I know it's left to parents, but sometimes, you know, if there's a time limit on it, like, you know, wakes parents up to the time when the children have to be up. I'm thinking about parents being on there late at night when alcohol kicks in and things like that. And I might have missed it. It might be in there, but I've looked through it and I can't find it. It's a concern to me, children being, you know, able to be on there the whole of the time.
Yeah, it's not in our event manual yet, but it has actually been something we've again discussed in the last few weeks. We've discussed, so obviously the problem is once there are children on site, it will be quite hard to forcibly take them off at a certain hour or sort of forcibly make families leave at a certain time. But we would certainly be keen on putting recommendations in, such as, you know, saying past 9 p.m. we really highly encourage families to sort of exit or start to leave a bit earlier. But it would be quite hard for us it would be a very hard policy to enforce. And I suppose, yeah, we did discuss also having an age limit on children if people were concerned about the safety of children on the site. But like I say, we are quite keen to make it an event that is open to the local community. And I feel like that would rule out a series of parents and a whole set of an audience. But we would be willing to discuss that if that was something that made people who were concerned about the event more comfortable with it. Yeah.
So I think, sorry, just to continue, I think the policy that we had, whereas I just had it. Oh, I hate computers. Yeah, so it was based off this our, you know, partly our experience of going to festivals as younger children with family members. We switch of which we used to leave earlier because we were younger, and we don't want to force people off. We believe that you know, people have the right to decide how long they stay, as long as we can maintain a reasonably safe and child-friendly atmosphere. I think when we say, and also when we're talking about child-friendly, we don't mean this like the event is not aimed at children. Oh. 1 second, my brother's being really loud. Do you mind if I just go? Just
give him a shout.
Yeah, I think to continue on that, we'd probably be looking at. Sorry, I actually don't know what he was going to say there either.
Okay, so. Rosa, can I just clarify this? Because what you've got in your manual is that because you're going to be in contact with the stage and everything like that, you can use announcements from the stage. So one of the questions I think which is being asked is, could you make an announcement at sort of say 8 o'clock that you would expect children below a certain age to leave at that time, and at 9 o'clock another situation to be leaving at that time? I think that's what the councillor's getting at.
I think that would be perfectly viable to make an announcement of it. I think what we were saying was that it would be impossible to sort of forcibly remove people, yes. But we'd definitely be keen to put an announcement suggesting that it's not like under the age of 5, under the age of 8, under certain ages, that we'd recommend leaving the site at this time. But we will also be limiting, we're going to speak to all the artists about not swearing in between songs and things as well. That's obviously something we've really discussed already, but I thought I'd just mention it for you.
So did that answer your question, Joyce? Joyce, did that clarify your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, fine, thanks. The one further question from me is, I've read your documentation where you say you're bringing in market traders, etc., people selling other alcohol on the site. You do realise that they'll have to comply with the licensing facilities as well. I'm sure that the licensing staff will have told you that, but it's up to you to make sure that they are complying with that, because it's not up to our team to be making sure that that's the situation. It's yourselves that do that, because some of these people might be turning up and selling gin and things like that. You're going to be after monitoring that. Is that fair, Helen?
Yeah, Chair, if I can just come in at that point, that was discussed as part of the initial meeting with Elsa in regards to having, I think there was a bit of miscommunication between Elsa and the Durham City Rugby Club itself. The rugby club actually made a suggestion that they could run the bar on behalf of Durfest. It actually turned out that they then said, we didn't realise the numbers involved, we couldn't do that, and kind of put it back onto Elsa. So Elsa said, well, we'll just look to get some local providers who are familiar with providing and selling alcohol at events, and that's what they were going to do. Elsa was very much aware, and I'm sure Alex and Rosa will be as well, that anybody supplying sale of alcohol and selling alcohol at this event, if the licence is granted, are bound by the terms and conditions. And I suppose it's quite good to hear that there's going to be at least 19 SIA door supervisors, so obviously they'll have been trained, and I presume they'll be positioned in areas where sale of alcohol especially takes place for the checking of ID and everything like that. So that's what happened initially. Durham City Rugby Club were going to do it, but then obviously due to numbers, they couldn't do that.
They wouldn't be able to start.
I don't know if Alex wants to come in there, Chair.
Yeah, okay. Alex, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I just speaking quickly as on the subject of the bar. We had approached a number of companies that run bars for events, weddings, festivals of a large nature. The company that we've been in contact with, who had agreed to work with us last year, were completely happy to work with us on whatever restrictions we needed them to abide by, and they were also very keen that they'd run a 25, the Challenge 25 policy, and all of their staff are trained professionals who work at events like this one throughout the year. So we believe that they'll be able to do a really good job of providing a good service, but also they know how to abide by the stuff, and we'll be making sure that they do, and they'll be safe about it.
So you could supply that name or that company 3 months beforehand for approval by the licensing team, so that they could check it all out.
Yes. So the company that we were speaking to last year had said that they would like to do, be involved for 2021 as well. But since the a couple of months into the COVID thing, they have become less responsive. I think they're struggling a bit. But we are aiming to have that part of it, the alcohol supply, the bar company, organised well in advance. So we would be,
We've also been speaking to Red Squirrel, who do a bar on Glastonbury and things. So they're the other company that we've been speaking to about it. But we've each had a different company communication with. So yeah, it will be someone along those lines.
Oh, Helen, we would be able to check that out if we got a 3 months notice. Would that be fair for the licensing team?
Yeah, we could do necessary checks into who's providing the bar. I mean, we can easily contact them and just check things out if they've got personal license holders and stuff. But it would be down to, if this license was granted, it would be down to the license holder to ensure that those are in place. But we can make inquiries. Yeah,
I think that's one of the worries that I think the councillors would have had. That they need to be checked out as well. But I mean, it's obviously up to the team that's organising this all to do it, not ourselves. We'd just be the backstop to make sure that we had suitable people. Okay. Is there anything else that any councillor wishes to ask for clarification? No. Helen, Jill, do you have any questions?
No, but I don't know if Alex wants to come back in, Chair.
Yeah, I don't know, made it clear when we were approaching the bar companies, the first questions we were asking is personal license, liabilities, experience, and ability to deal with premises licenses and stuff like that. So every company we've approached, we've been making sure that they have experienced personal license holders, and they are good at compliance with the licensing of the event that they're working at. Yeah, just wanted to say that bit.
Jill, I don't know if we've lost Colin.
Chair, I can still say I don't have any questions to raise. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Maitland, do you want to step in at this point until we get Colin back in?
Yes, I can do, Jill. You've got nothing to say, Jill, so now it's the final chance to address the committee. Helen, have you anything else to add?
I've nothing further, Chair, just to obviously consider what's been said today, and again what the options are available to members are contained within the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms Montague Vaughan and Mr Cornish, have you anything else to add?
I don't. No, thank you.
No, neither do I, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Final comments, Jill, anything?
Thank you, Chair. And the only thing I would ask you to do now, perhaps we need to know whether Councillor Carr is available, is just to announce who could make the decision today, because it would be 3 members. Perhaps we can give him a moment just to see if he's able to connect. Certainly nothing's been said since he lost connection, I think, to suggest that he wouldn't be able to take part, but if we can perhaps just check if he is available. I'm not sure. I don't know. Jill, can you do that?
He's not responding at the moment. I'm not able to call him into the meeting. So can I suggest that we sort of close and assume that Colin, we can maybe get him into the deliberations meeting if you're happy that he's heard enough of the hearing to be able to make the decision, Jill?
Yes, sorry, I'm just checking that I wasn't on mute. Yes, I think I'm not sure when he dropped out is the only question. I think he had just asked a question before that, so I think he has heard sufficient. Perhaps if we can maybe pause for a few moments, suggest that if we can announce.
Jill, I think he missed just the last bit that Alex said in regards to
About the when they
The
approach
bars
the
would
bar.
have the personal license, the applicants would make sure that they would have the personal licenses in place and things like that. That's when I noticed that he'd frozen on the screen.
So that's the only point. So that could be explained. Well, perhaps at this stage, Councillor Maitland, if you could step in as chair. If we're presuming that Councillor Carr is available, and we'll announce the 3 that will hear it. Perhaps I can then ask you just to adjourn for a few moments, and we'll check. If we're not able to reconnect with Councillor Carr, we'll then need to appoint another member from the committee.
Yeah, because I was due to do the deliberation with Councillor Blakey. So if I'm in the chair, if Colin can take the chair, we're going to need either Amanda or Karen. Yeah.
So at the moment, if we can clarify, it would be if Councillor Carr is available to rejoin the meeting, it would be Councillor Carr as chair with Councillor Maitland and Councillor Blakey. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Right. Can I suggest on that basis then, Jill, that we perhaps we'll pause just to see if we can reconnect with Councillor Carr, and if we can't, then we'll need to appoint a 3rd member.
Yeah. Can we finish this meeting, or will we have to pause the meeting? You know, just to thank everybody in that, or have we got to wait?
I think you could conclude, Jill, couldn't you? Because whatever else is now said is separate to this meeting.
I would say if we can conclude the meeting, and I know that Councillor Hopgood has said that she would be available should Councillor Carr not be. We can't get him back in.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Well, I'd like to thank everybody, and we will be retiring now to consider the representation made, and all parties will be notified of the decision by the licensing officer later today. That will be by telephone. You will be getting written confirmation. Item 5, any other business? I have not been informed of any items. That concludes the business, and before the broadcast ends, I would like to thank those members of the public and media who have watched this meeting. If you wish to find out the decision, please email licensing@durhamcountycouncil.gov.uk. The address can also be found on our website with the papers for this meeting. Thank you.